So the main drawing room was called the Red Flag Hall. And that's where all the Communist Party meetings used to be held. And we grew up, Suchitra, with an absence of religion, but a real celebration of India's diversity and her composite culture. So we celebrated all festivals, Holi, Diwali, Eid, Christmas, with great gusto. And I remember also that on 26th January, all the children from this commune used to be put in a truck, and we used to go to Chowpatty to see the lights, and it was like a national festival. So I grew up with no money at all, but that didn't seem to matter at all, because there was a larger worldview that all of them were united in following.
Were your parents strict parents?
Not at all. They were not at all. They were very democratic, and they always included my brother, who's 3 years younger than me, Baba Azmi, and myself in all the decisions that were taken. But they were different, particularly my father. Because imagine, I was 7 years old when, I went to Queen Mary's, which is a convent school, and like all the other students, I wanted to have a blonde doll with blue eyes, and he got me a black doll. And to me, black is beautiful too at the age of 7. So
I love it.
I gave him up as crack. I said, this man is completely cracked. But that's how all these values were inculcated in us. And if you know even a little bit of my father's work, this was in the early 40s, he wrote a poem called Aurat, at a time when, it was believed that men were to go out and work and the woman was to look after the kitchen and the children. And instead he said, "Ut meri jaan mere saath hi chalna hai tujhe." Uska ek zara sa main hissa aapko sunati hu, shayad sab logon ko samajh nahi aayega, but you'll get the gist.
No, please.
Qadr ab tak teri taarikh ne jaani hi nahi. Qadr ab tak teri history has not recognized your worth. कद्र अब तक तेरी तारीख ने जानी ही नहीं, तुझ में शोले भी हैं, बस अश्क फिशानी ही नहीं. You also have fire, just not tears. Okay? कद्र अब तक तेरी तारीख ने जानी ही नहीं, तुझ में शोले भी हैं, बस अश्क फिशानी भी नहीं. तू हकीकत है, दिलचस्प कहानी ही नहीं. You are a reality, not just an interesting story. तू हकीकत है, दिलचस्प कहानी ही नहीं. तेरी हस्ती भी है एक चीज, Javani hi nahi. Your identity is much more than just your you. Okay? Ut meri jaan mere saath hi chalna hai tujhe. This was in early 40s. Wow. And he was a person who practiced what he preached. So for me, it was a given. Women's equality was a given. Yes. It was only when I think became 19 years old that I realized whatever I had accepted as the norm was actually an exception, and that there was so much discrimination against women, and there was no equality in many sections of society. So it took me that long to realize that what I had grown up with wasn't the norm. So it was an exceptional childhood by all standards.
Wonderful. Who were you anybody's favorite? Some parents always have the pet. Were you mom's pet or dad's pet? Any favorites there?
So the daughters were born to be their parent, to be their father's pet.
Father's pet, yes.
The father's pet, and the brother is born to be the mother's
pet. True, very true. Now, Shwari, was it always understood? I mean, being from a family like this, that you would always be part of a creative line, or did you have any other ambitions completely different from acting?
No, I think it was in my genes almost, because what had happened, on the one hand, my father used to take my brother and me to all the mushairas and all the Kavi Sammelans that he would go to.
Yes.
And mother, during my vacations, would take me with her on tour with Prithvi Theatre. She was working in Prithvi Theatre. So what Prithviraj Kapoor had done is made clothes for me when I was just 3 years old. And so in all the group sequences, I would be taken up on.
Oh,
So I grew up with the smell of grease paint in my
grease
nostrils.
paint.
So I think it was a given that that's what I would do.
Wow. And tell us about your very first offer when it came to film. How did that all come about? And was that was Ankur in 1974, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah,
And,
but actually, I have three first films in a sense.
mm-hmm.
Because when I was still a student at the Film Institute in Pune,
Yes.
K. Abbas, the filmmaker K.
Yes, of
Abbas,
course.
came to me and he signed me for a film called Fasla. Then I started with a film called Parinay, which was Kantila. I started shooting. It was just quite amazing because I passed out with the gold medal for Best Actress, for Best Acting Student on the 30th of April. And by the first week of May, I was shooting for my first film, and that was Kantilal Rathod's Parinay. And then Ankur became the first film that got released. So
That got released.
Three first films, yeah.
Okay, and what was that like? Getting that offer for Ankur? What was that like? Because that's the one that pushed you fully into the limelight.
It was a very strange thing because actually, when I went to meet Shyam Benegal, he was working with ASP advertising at that time. And I'd won a sari and a bindi, and I don't know why. And I went over there. I still have that sari with me, by the way.
Wow.
and he looked at me and he said, "Well, how good are you at accents?" And I said, "Which accent?" And so he said, "Dakkani." And I said, "Yeah, I come from Hyderabad, so I can speak the language." And then he turned around and told me the story of Ankur and Nishan. And he said, "Both these films are going to be followed up, and I'd like to cast you in both films." So I came home and I told my mother, I met some fraud filmmaker who's offering me two films. So I don't know what's going to come of it. And 18 days later, I was in Hyderabad and shooting for Ankur.
Wow, that's amazing. So tell me, Shabana, you've been in what, like over 100 films, right? Have you counted the exact number?
Yeah, 140.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So now, did it ever bother you? I mean, you started off in what they call, parallel cinema, for want of a better description, where realism is the order of the day, basically. And did it ever bother you that when you took the switch between, signing for commercial Hindi cinema while you were still doing a lot of the parallel cinema, the differences or the raised eyebrows that people would make between actresses in these two kinds of films? Did it ever bother you?
There was no precedent to what I was doing, but I sort of, it was luck by chance maybe that, just when I finished Ankur, the immediate film that I started shooting after that was Devanand's Ishq Ishq Ishq. And my first mainstream film which was released was Fakira with Shashi Kapoor, which became a very big hit. And so I simultaneously did commercial cinema, mainstream cinema, and I was also doing the parallel cinema. So a time came when I felt that I was going to sink because I was trying to keep my feet in both.
Yeah.
And people kept dissuading me and discouraging me and said, you have to choose one of the two. But I sort of figured that it was very important for me to become a star in the commercial sense, because then people would be persuaded to see my other films as well.
Yes.
And that held me in very good stead. And today I find it so satisfying that this distance between one kind of cinema and the other is now completely
merged. Yes.
It's getting dissolved. And I think that's how it should be. You shouldn't have, because a film is either a good film or a bad film. That's what it is. And it can be in any kind of genre. And we should be embraced. Yeah.
Right. when you were first offered your first commercial movie, were there any apprehensions about what they talk about dancing around trees, or
It,
what it
it,
takes?
it was awful. It was absolutely awful because I had all these reservations. I'm Kefi Azmi's daughter. I am from St. Xavier's College. How can
Yeah.
I dance around trees and sing with Shashi Kapoor? Tota Maina ki kahani to purani purani ho gayi hai. And it was really Shashi Kapoor who helped me get over that reservation, because he said, see, this is a very important component of mainstream cinema. And you better do it without feeling embarrassed and without feeling uh, shy, uh, because that's what's needed. And so I struggled with it. But then in time, I became comfortable.
God bless his soul, Shashi Kapoor. I've had the opportunity to work with him for BBC Radio 4. What a man! What a fantastic man! So I'm sure he, put you at ease there. Can you tell us any funny anecdotes from, whichever, either your parallel cinema or commercial movies? Anything that strikes you that, oh my God, this is what happened?
When I was shooting for Fakira, I went on the set
Hmm.
to see that, there's almost a devotional song, because they've just got married and she's singing this song, Dil mein tujhe bitha ke kar lungi, main band aankhein pooja karungi teri. And when I went on the set, I saw that the dance director and his assistant were doing very intimate things together and rolling on each other. And I just looked at it and I said, this is not something I'm going to do. And I went into my makeup room and burst into tears. And I said, I can't do this. The loud knocking on the door, and Shashi Kapoor came. Open the door, he said, open the door. I can't do this. I'm very embarrassed. So he said, जब एक्ट्रेस बन रही थी तब नहीं सोचा मम्मी मम्मी मैं भी एक्ट्रेस बनूंगी, तब नहीं सोचा ये सब चीजें करनी पड़ेगी. And he yelled and screamed and he went away, and I told my hairdresser what a mean man he is. But when I went back on the set, he had changed all the moves. So sweet, so sweet. And so there I, oh my God, thank God. So there were many such situations which were very awkward, but not this. I mean, I'll tell you, we were doing a film called Parvarish, Neetu Singh and I. And for 1 month, we had to hang from a well in which there were crocodiles in the water. So we had to say, oh,
no green screen at that time, actual crocodiles.
At that time, can you imagine, for 1 month in that crazy situation? And I used to tell Manmohanji, how are you going to pull this off? And he didn't use it in that language, but that's what I finally understood, that willing suspension of disbelief is what Hindi cinema gives you. And so you sort of feel, hi, सचमुच अगर वो गिर गई और अमजद खान उसको पकड़ लेगा और so it was, I'm surprised that I didn't become a schizophrenic, because at one point I was doing that kind of thing and on the other was doing Par, which was so completely different from each other.
Speaking of experiences like this, where you had awkwardness, when it came to a film like Fire, Deepa Mehta's, which, took everybody, I mean, there were raised eyebrows, there was a lot of talk about it, there was a lot of appreciation for it, etc. Also, was there any awkwardness when it came to this particular movie, considering the topic that it,
Well, when it first came, I liked the script very much, but by then I was working in the slums, and I felt that this movie could be held against me. And so I told Deepa that you have to give me time to think about it.
Yes.
And she said, I'll give you time, but meanwhile, if I find another actress who I think is good for the part and is willing to do it, I'll take her. So I said, yes, I'll have to take that risk. Now, Zoya, who was literally a teenager at that time, I told her about this film. And so she said, she looked at me and said, do you like the script? I said, yes, I like it very much. She said, so? So I said, but it's a lesbian relationship.
Yeah.
She said, so? And I looked at her and it was like such a revelation that for
That's
this
simple. Yes.
generation, that
Yeah.
even that I was struggling with it was something that had not occurred to her. But the thing that really happened is I believed that Deepa would make a sensitive film. She would not sensationalize it. And I felt that the film had a very important message to convey, which is in this world where we are being divided into the other religion, the other nation, the other race, the other community. You know, if we could learn to empathize with these two sisters in law,
Yes.
then perhaps we would be able to extend that empathy to the other, not just in terms of tolerating, but actually accepting and empathizing. And that was important. But I remember the first day when we started doing rehearsal, it was the first film that Nandita was doing. And Deepa just said very matter of factly, well, just get into bed, both of you, and we have to do the kissing scene first. And we said, oh my God, we haven't got to know each other. Sort of, we were just sort of touching each other like that. She said, I'm not asking you all to scrub each other's face, okay? I'm asking you to actually do something. So then again, I did something like that. She said, nor did I ask you to brush her teeth. Hold her and kiss her. Oh God, it was just so mad and so funny. But once we crossed that bridge, of course, she was very, very sensitive because the actual scene that we did was shot almost in camera. So there was just the
close section, less
close and all that. And I didn't know that. I knew that this film wouldn't go unnoticed, but that it would become an iconic film. And that even today, people refer to that film, and it's gone to all the universities.
Yes.
So I'm very glad we made the film.
Now, you started off, Ankur got you the National Award way back then. Was there a lot of expectation for yourself, and from other people that, what you came up with next, you had to win those awards? How important have, the recognition or the awards been for you?
See, awards are a bonus, and they are very good because they validate your work.
I agree.
But I don't think one should work for an award. One shouldn't think that, oh, wow, this is an award-winning role, so I have to give it my best. Because then that extra pressure is not going to allow you to get into the truth of the performance. So you have to do that totally sincerely. You have to find the truth for that. And if you win an award, then excellent.
Bonus. Now, you've worked extensively in international cinema as well. You've worked with so many international actors. What would you say are the stark differences between our industry and theirs?
Well, when I started, way back in 1989, it was completely different because we were at that time working in 12 films at one time. And so we used to shoot, let's say, in Filmistan studio from 7 to 2. And then at 2 o'clock, go to Film City and then other shooting there. It was completely mad. And here you had a complete script, you had done rehearsals. It was very different. But today, Suchitra, you'll find, of course, that the kind of things that are being done in our cinema today, it's all become extremely organized, well organized, and all of that. But I think that both of us have to learn from each other. Because what happens is they are so dependent on the system that if the system fails, they're finished. And we are so used to jugaad and to making things work,
Chal jayega.
So I think we have a certain resilience, and because we've had to make do with much less, it gives us this ability to not make the work stop.
Yes.
So I think they learn from us. We learn that systems are very important, and they learn from us that a certain kind of resilience is also important. So I think it's a happy mix. And for me, it's very, at the moment, it's a very good situation because I'm working in a web series by Steven Spielberg. And you have people from all over the world over there. But you know, we Asian actors have been talking about colorblind casting. Why is it that all the best roles should only go to the Caucasian and a Western person? And so now the fact is, my name is Margaret Paragonsky in it, but I look exactly the
way
way
you
I
are. Excellent.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I speak English the way I speak, and that's wonderful. That colorblind casting that is happening today is very good. I think.
Yeah. And since we talked about the change in how even cinema here has had such a major, leap towards the way they work, etc. And that, of course, from your family itself, Farhan Akhtar, I was happy to, he changed the face of Indian cinema with Dil Chahta Hai. And, I was part of that movie, and I'll always be grateful because they still call me 20 years later, the girl who slapped Saif Ali Khan. But, the way Farhan at that time, it was such a pleasure to see. He was 26 years old, and for him to bring in that whole thing of call sheets and sticking to a call sheet and everything was just an absolute pleasure. So yeah, I think us here also definitely moving towards streamlining the process of filmmaking a hell of a lot more than what it used to be before. Now, moving from movies into politics, I think on my birthday, actually, 27th of August, 1997, correct? You were nominated to the Rajya Sabha. Was that the turning point for you to start working for causes, etc., that you were that were close to your heart, or what was that? Did that help for sure, or how did all of that come about?
It was of the work that I was doing at the grassroots.
Yes.
I was working for the slums of Mumbai since 1986. I had gone on a hunger strike for 5 days along with Anand Patwardhan and 3 slum dwellers demanding alternative accommodation for the slum dwellers. And so it was this work that got recognized when I was nominated to the Rajya Sabha. And I felt that was a very important position to be in because often I find that there is no connect between the grassroots and those who are fixing the policies.
Yes.
And so, coming as I did from the NGO world, I was able to fill that gap, which is a very important gap. I found my 6 years in the Rajya Sabha deeply, deeply satisfying. You see, what happens? People just, and in question hour, they hear all this chaos that you see on television. And then you decide that all nonsense is happening over there. But that's not true because so much work goes into policy making. So much of homework you have to do, which is why it's very important that we have a minimum standard of education for people who are going to become members of parliament, because it's all about bills, right? It's all about legislating. It's all about reading and making laws. So there should be some kind of sort of bottom line that people can enter into politics. But because I didn't belong to any political party, so it was a very good opportunity for me to not have to toe the party line and to bring to it whatever I had to offer as an independent. And that's why I decided never to join party politics.
Excellent. Now, coming, you just mentioned your NGO work. We'd like to talk now about Mijban, the NGO, Mijban or Mizban? Sorry,
Mijban.
Correct. The Mijban Welfare Society, which works towards the empowerment of the girl child, and we know that you've used the talents of the Mijban women, especially the exquisite embroidery which Manish Malhotra, etc., have used, and not only now is it known as like a model village the world over, Shabana ji, for those who don't know, has also been nominated as the Global Leadership Ambassador for Women in Public Service, a project that has been initiated by Hillary Clinton, which is amazing. I mean, congratulations on that, ma'am.
Thank you.
What brought about, the roles that you have played also in parallel cinema, okay, have a lot to do with the villages and rural life, etc. Did you actually see some of this when you were researching for your work, etc., or how did Mijwan and the work that they do come about, as in
Well,
that you
Mijwa is a tiny village in eastern UP,
Hmm.
where my father was born into a landlord family.
Mhm.
And he then gave up that life. He was always sensitive and different from the rest of them, and he became a member of the Communist Party. And his family moved to Pakistan after partition. So he didn't go back to the village for almost 40 years. And then, he had a brain stroke, because of which his left arm and his left leg were paralyzed for the rest of his life. And my mother says that he kept saying, Mijma, 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 almost as if a mother is calling back a child. And he went back to discover that it was a village frozen in time. It did not have water, it did not have electricity, it did not have a road, it had no basic facilities. And in that state, my father decided that he was going to settle in Midway, giving up all the medical facilities that he could have in Bombay at that time. And he said, I'm going to work for the empowerment of this village. And so, from being a village that didn't even have a pin code, it was so small that it didn't even have a pin code. And today it's become an internationally known real model village.
Yeah.
Because he realized that and that work intersected very well with the work that I was doing in the slums. Because you see, when I was working in the slums with Nivara Hub, by the way, we have made homes for 50,000 people for free in with Nivara Hub for free for 50,000 people in the largest rehabilitation project of Asia, where the government, Nivara Hub, and a private builder got together and we built these homes for these people. So that's really substantial work that we have done. But at that point, I realized that by demolishing slums, no purpose is served, because the person just moves from slum A to slum B. Maybe you had some water and electricity in slum 1A, but now in B, you don't even have that. So you create a worse slum out of already existing slums. So people come to the city in search of work. Work they get, but they can't find housing because land is so expensive.
Yes.
And unless the government has a bank of land where land becomes available to the economically weaker sections of society at subsidized rates, this will always happen. Now, unless you can guarantee work for the villagers in the village itself, they will migrate to the city.
Yeah.
And we saw that most starkly during the pandemic.
During the lockdown, yes.
So it's not about demolishing their slums, it's about giving them work in employment opportunities in the village itself. So this was where I was coming from, and my father was saying that we have to make the village self-sufficient so that people don't have to migrate to the city in search of work. So it really intersected very well, and he decided to put women and the girl child at the center of that. And then from there, so we have an inter-college, we have a school, we have a computer center, and we have a embroidery center where we started with just 40 women and now we have 400. And they do this exquisite embroidery. It's completely different from anything that you see in the market. And then when Manish Malhotra came there and saw that, he was so impressed that he decided to just adopt all of them. And so the work now today is being worn by of course, everybody in the Hindi film industry. So you've got Priyanka Chopra wearing it, and you've got Amitabh Bachchan, and you've got Roshan and Ranveer, who is our ambassador, etc. But it's also going to Naomi Campbell. So, and then what happens is every year we have this fashion show where we bring our girls, and they get so excited because they say,
because seeing all these, oh my God.
वो शेरवानी शाहरुख खान पहने हुए जो मैंने एम्ब्रॉयडर की है, and that leads them to so much sense of self-respect. And what it does is, because these girls are now earning their own money, these women are earning their own monies, it changes the status quo in the family. So the woman, from being regarded as a liability, is now looked upon as an asset, and that changes the equation. And so the patriarchal fissures start automatically following.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful.
You know, Elegant, now that we're talking about this, Elegant definitely is on the same page as you when it comes to women empowerment and, you know, the girl child and etc. How do you think they can help you, you know, achieve your dreams for women and children in this country? I mean, they're more than happy. I was, you know.
To her, I said, this is very, very important, because what happens in Michwa is that already the groundwork has been done.
Yes.
So we need you to come and join hands with us and then take programs up, specific programs. Like in the school, for instance, we're really struggling to set up the science center. So they can come and take up just the science lab and take that bit of the science lab. Then we've built our own badminton court where we are hoping to, bring girls up to the district level, which they've already started. So there are several programs that they can connect with us. That will be extremely, extremely helpful, and I think it will be a win-win situation for both of us.
Right. Now, your family has always been very supportive of all your endeavors. I have seen Javed Saab beaming from year to year every time, you know, you are shining up there. So too, Zoya and Farhan, you know, they've always, you share a special relationship with them. Is there any special, can you recite anything which maybe Javed Saab has written for you, which you remember off the top of your head? Something we'd love to hear.
You know what happened, and I've said this quite often, is that, young girls come up to me and say, "Kitni romantic शायरी Javed Saab, एक लड़की को देखा तो ऐसा लगा, और my God, how romantic must he be in real life?" And I tell them, there is not a romantic bone in his body. They said, "No, that can't possibly be true." So then I asked Javed, "So is she saying that?" He said, "Well, if you're a trapeze artist, you can't hang upside down in your own house, can you?" This is what I have to suffer from Mr. Javed. But the fact is that you see, because both of us have the same worldview, and because both of us are friends, I think it is very important in a marriage for the couple to be friends more than anything else, And these notions of romance and all that, he said, बहुत जल्दी
चला जाता है after some time. I agree. Yeah, but companionship.
If you can have friendship, and if your value system is the same, then I do not have, in that sense, a conventional relationship with my husband. I don't sew his buttons. I don't
take out his socks from the cupboard. Yes, like my mother used to. Yeah.
In fact, we lead such independent life that it often happens that I get up in the morning and I say, "Saab kahan hai?" And they say, "Wo to Delhi chale gaye." I said, "Last night he didn't tell me." Then he'll say, "Shabana kahan hai?" Wo Hyderabad chali gayi. So there is no mistrust. You recognize that both of us are extremely busy people.
Yes.
And I think when you have your own work and you have your own sphere that is separate from that of your spouse, I think that's very healthy for a relationship. And that's why I encourage all the girls, all the women from Elegant, and say that, this is what can give you a raison d'etre. to do something on your own. And it always, I find that, we think that we are going there to help. Actually, we come back being helped. Because when you're working with people, you get exposed to the hardships that people are enduring. And then when you become a cog in the wheel of trying to be a catalyst for change, I believe each one of us has the capacity to be a catalyst for change. We just need to be pushed into that. And so I greatly value women coming together in groups, because you realize that we have the same strengths and the same weaknesses.
Absolutely. Shabana, you worked in theatre projects. One has seen you on stage and admired your work there too. So you've also worked in television, Anupama, the series, and now you're working with Mr. Spielberg, etc. The different mediums, I do the same. I put my finger in a lot of pies, and a lot of people ask, why so many things? And I always say, why not? But for you, if you had to choose a favorite between theater, television, film, would there be a favorite, or is it just all encompassing acting?
I think of myself as a actor, because that's what I was trained for. But I think the best situation for an actor would be to be able to do both theater and cinema, because it is a discipline that is required. But the process of finding who the character is essentially the same, except that in theater, you get so much more time to build your character.
Yes.
And then you have to face the challenge of doing the same thing over and over and over again and bringing the truth to that. I used to do a play called Tumhari Amrita. I think we've done more than 500 shows of it.
Yes.
And I would manage to cry on the same dialogue every single time. So something happens, something happens. I think basically, and you'll agree with me, that actors are neurotic people. And I'll explain to you why. See, what is civilized behavior? Civilized behavior is that you need to keep your emotions in check.
Yes.
Acting demands the opposite. Acting says at the click of a button, emotion number 36, bahar niklo. And when I or so that means you have to keep yourself in a state of emotional preparedness all the time. फटाक करके निकल, तो फटाक करके अगर निकलेगा तो फिर और जगह भी तो फैलेगा. So that's why I believe that actors are neurotic, because of this demand from them, which is the opposite of demand that is being made of a civilized, what is considered civilized behavior.
Yes, true. I mean, I've been doing Dance Like a Man for 23 years now. I was 27, I'm 50 now. I'm still playing a 25-year-old, thank God.
Yeah.
But same thing, to be able to cry at the drop of a hat and every single time at the climax, to do that. I think it is, as you say, there is that neurotic bent of mind. It has to be there, otherwise we wouldn't be where we are. Ma'am, Shabana, what is the advice that you would give to young actors who are, coming into the industry today?
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it unless it is so important to you that you feel you'll die if you didn't do it. Because it's a very, very, very tough profession to choose, because imagine you risk being rejected every single day. So you can go from audition to audition and audition, and every single day you can get rejected. But if you're doing any kind of job, any kind of profession, then maybe 1 or 2 jobs you won't get, but ultimately you'll get a job and you'll settle down. And once you get the job, then you're there for 4 years or 5 years. And it's so heartbreaking that unless you feel ki ye mere ko karna hi hai, this is what I want to do in life. I worry about a lot of young people coming and thinking it's really glamorous. It's so glamorous. And wanting to come in for the fame, wanting to come in for the glamour,
Yes.
not wanting to come in for inhabiting the world of another character. Acting is a it can be deeply satisfying
Yes.
if you actually try to find the truth. But if you come in because you fancy yourself, because you've got six-pack abs, because you've got a beautiful face, or because you can dance
Yeah.
like a, that's not reason to come into acting. And I am a, a great believer in training. I have benefited a lot from being at the Film Institute, and so especially today when I see uh, learn acting in 3 months, I
Yeah.
go a little crazy. And then when they say 3 weeks, so I go completely crazy. That 3 weeks में आप acting सीख सकते हो. Acting is a lifelong learning. I am still learning.
Learning.
I'm
Yes.
still learning after being in the industry for 50 years. I am still learning. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you think I've got it all, baby, you haven't got it all, because
Yeah.
it demands something from you. And what it demands, what is very important, is that it demands that you be connected to life. Because if I'm not connected to life, if I have no relationship with the grassroots, how do I build a character? An artist's resource base has to be life itself. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
you start getting into this rarefied atmosphere around you where nobody can touch you, nobody can meet you. So you can become a star, but you can't become an actor.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Shabana ji, if you don't mind, we'd like to take just a couple of questions from the people who have. We've got one from Puneet Jain. We feel that the quality of cinema and actors is going up in the days of OTT, platforms, etc. What is your opinion? What do you think about that?
I think the advent of the casting director has been really revolutionary.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, earlier they were just stock characters. They're just stock characters. Iske liye iska role, iske liye uska role. Now they're going out into little towns, they're going into the hinterlands and finding actors with interesting faces who would never have made it to the cinema.
Yeah.
And so the ecosystem around the actor is changing. And what happens is when you have character artists who are very good, then you inspire the main lead, because the main lead says, oh God, I can't fake it, because these people are not faking it. So
Yeah.
it just 15 years ago, you could get away with playing a a rock star without knowing how to strum or without knowing how to play the chords on a guitar.
Sure.
Then nobody would accept that at all, because you're surrounded by people who are really, really good. So the OTT platform has just opened up absolutely marvelous spaces for these new actors. And I think they are lending a lot of authenticity to the work that is being done.
What about your new projects? Anything that you can talk about? You did mention working with Mrs. Spielberg. Um, anything else? What about on the OTT platforms here? Will we get to see
Well,
you?
something that's about to,
Okay.
which will be released in September, but I can't talk about it. But I did a very interesting film with Shekhar Kapoor in
Yes.
English called "What's Love Got to Do with It,"
Yes.
with Emma Thompson, no less.
Yeah. Wow.
And was just such a fascinating experience. And we did it in the height of the pandemic in London. And so
London.
I was told, you're crazy, you're going and you'll come back in 3 days. It's not going to work. And we actually managed to finish the film in 38 days. And it's a rom-com, it's a comedy, it's lovely.
Lovely.
And Emma is just somebody whom I've admired for so long.
So long. Yes.
I said, come to India. You have lots of time. She said, yeah, call me. I'll definitely come. She's a wonderful co-star.
Wonderful woman. Yes, I had an opportunity to meet her and Sir Anthony Hopkins when I lived in London, and that was like one of the moments of my life. He actually played a joke on me. That's for another day. We'll discuss that story. Um, uh, Someone has said, Bombay High Court recently has said that the slum rehab scheme rewards land grabbers. Your comments on this?
This is a very complicated issue. I cannot answer it uh, in a very short soundbite, but I'll still make an effort because this is how it's perceived. They're seen as illegal, they're seen as land grabbers. But that happens because I told you the government doesn't have a bank of land where it can be given at subsidized rates to the economically weaker sections. Also, what happens is when I come from the village, I have sold my wife's jewelry. I've sold everything that I have to come and find a job over here. Now, of course, I don't find the land where I can build my house. So then I look at some slumlord who says, I'll allow you to build the house over here. You give me that much money. And so all the money that I had brought, let's say I brought 1 lakh of rupees after selling my wife's jewelry, I give that 1 lakh to the slumlord. So the slumlord protects me for about 5-6 months. He gives half the money to the local corporator and then disappears. And so my house gets demolished. My house gets demolished. What do I do? Then you say that these people don't pay their taxes, but you don't give them any amenities. And so what happens is they end up paying much more for electricity and water that you and I do because they're getting it illegally. We keep insisting that please take this nonsense of illegal, because they are people who are in need. They're citizens of this country. They're servicing the city. Yep. If a metropolitan city like Mumbai has about 70% people who live in the slums, these are the working class of Mumbai. They are the people who bring in your newspaper, your milk, your buyer who comes in to wash your clothes, your driver who takes you to work, etc. Right? If all 70% of them decided to call strike, the city would come to a halt.
So don't we know? I mean, during lockdown itself, everyone was so worried about
experience. So you can't have a one-way relationship with these people. You can't say that I will use you for cheap labor and then you vanish into thin air because I don't care how you're going to be. But demolitions don't serve the purpose. Demolitions only create worse slums out of already existing slums. So you need to upgrade slums. You need to give them sanitation. You need to give them roads. You need to give them electricity. You need to give them just plots of land where they will build as they can. It's a big, big debate, which I hope I have been able to explain at least a little bit.
Well, we have time for only that much. I wish we could go on and on. Shabana ji, I can't begin to tell you what fun this has been. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that they asked me to do this. I was like, yes, of course, straight away, definitely. But thank you so much. It's been absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
No, thank you so much. Temina, if you'd like to take over now before we close up. Thank you, Shabana ji. I'll see you soon. And I want to come to Khandala. I'm coming.
Come. That's where we are just now. Yeah.
Temina. You're on mute, Temina.
Thank you very much. Those who bring sunshine to the lives of others cannot keep it from themselves. Ms. Shabana Azmi, thanks a lot for giving us precious time from your busy schedule. It really means a lot to us. You've surely added to the charm of this event. Our sincere gratitude to Mr. Chitra Pillai for moderating this event so beautifully. I now invite President Nalima Jhanjhanwala for her formal vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Shabana ji, for such an inspiring, enlightening, and an entertaining talk. I personally wanted to thank you for attending this event in spite of being on a family vacation in Khandala. I know we disturbed you all, but thank you so much for coming. I really enjoyed your episode on how you overcame acting in romantic scenes, and especially your interaction with Zoya, where she kind of motivated you to take a decision about the movie Fire, and also how you didn't have to choose, like you didn't wanted to make a choice between commercial and parallel cinema, and how you wanted to do it all. And I think that is very inspiring for me, because even I want to do it all in being a Rotarian. So thank you so much. So Chitra, we really appreciate your gesture for moderating today's event. Had it not been for you, most of us would not have even in of asking Shabana ji and putting up these questions in such a way, the whole show was so it was going in such a good flow that it didn't even look like, you were asking. And even Shabana ji, the way the episodes were, they were really very, very light-hearted. Lastly, it's been a great honor to have this opportunity to thank Shabana ji on behalf of all the 65 Rotary clubs who got associated together on this event. And thank you everybody for being with us. And it's been a great, great pleasure hosting this event. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
Bye. Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.
Bye, Nilima. Thank you.
Bye, Suchitra.
Bye,
Thank you so
Suchitra.
much. Welcome.
Bye.
Thank you
Had a
so
lot of fun.
much.
It was lovely.
Yes, even we enjoyed.
No, same. We
Nilima,
really
whole
enjoyed, and I think it was just the whole flow of the event also went, it was
Yeah,
Yes,
it went really
very
well.
well,
She's
very
lovely.
well.
She's so lovely. She's so
She's
lovely.
been, yeah.
Yes, seamless. It was seamless. Absolutely fantastic.
And
Thank you.
she had so much to talk about.
Yeah,
Yes, of
she had
course.
so much of inputs, a
Yeah.
lot of things
Yes,
that
yes, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, no,
I
she's
know she was
wonderful.
in Lonavala, so I was a
But-
little concerned
But
about the
Suchitra,
network part.
but-
But
But Suchitra, you bought the best out of her.
yeah.
Yeah, no, because it was nice that I have met her.
Yeah.
And we have common friends, etc. Who are very close to her. So we've met
there was a personal
separately. It's
connect.
not only at work, etc. So there's a comfort.
Personal
There was a
connect.
comfort level, which was lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you guys.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
No, thank
All
you,
right.
Suchitra,
Thank
for
you.
hosting this and making
Pleasure.
our, like
Life,
we wouldn't,
making our
yeah,
life more
we wouldn't
better.
even know how to do this. So
Not at all. Not at all. Great fun. All
Okay.
right. Take care,
So
guys.
we'll do it
Bye-bye.
again.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So let me come off. Stop.
Thank you, Deepak.
Thanks,
Thank
Deepak.
you so much, Deepak. You did a great job.
Welcome.
Oh, and I
welcome.
love the singing, Deepak. Very nice.
Yeah. Superb. He's a very good singer.
Naras. Next one we sing together, okay? I was going to jump in and sing.
even I
Oh,
wanted
you-
to jump in.
Oh,
Yeah.
Deepak, one more for the road.
Are you serious?
And Suchitra, yeah, Suchitra will
Yeah,
join you.
definitely.
Wow. क्या बात है? Is it,
Yeah.
so any song, your favorite song? I can take any song I want.
No.
What's your favorite,
Yeah.
Suchitra?
Oh, anything. Chalo.
Kishorda will do.
Uh-huh.
Which one?
Okay. Kishorda songs.
Okay.
Okay, so let me quickly take one.
Say, I am infamous in my circle to start singing. Ke isko mic de do, and she'll start singing.
Chalo, Nilima. Let's
You.
have a jugal
Wow.
bandi now, everybody.
ठीक है, तो
I did a whole singing thing for Rotarians. I must do it
Which-
again sometime. Nilima
Oh,
called me
wow.
sometime,
In
and I
the,
will. I
in the
did. I
district
like
conference? In the
Deepika. I mean, I don't know if some of you might be aware. She's the one who kind of did an interview thing, and we did a whole hour of singing.
Oh,
Yeah, I did. It was great fun.
So
So
Hindi,
we'll do
like
that.
all Hindi songs and all?
Yeah, Hindi, English, all.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
uh,
you are with a singer.
अरे
with-
दीपक जी ग्रैमी अवार्ड नहीं है यार जल्दी
अरे नहीं आप कहाँ मिलती है
Deepak ji is looking for the app song for you, Suchitra.
It's
So,
okay. It's
अरे
okay.
शबाना जी को पद्म भूषण पद्मश्री at least she'll get some
अरे
singing award चलो
okay. I'll take a nice song.
You're waiting.
So that this is a beautiful song and it's close to life.
if it's very nice then we'll have to join in huh
So that's it.
Very
you.
good, Deep. Very good.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
nice.
you.
We enjoyed.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank you so
guys.
much.
Bye bye. See you
Thank you,
soon.
Yes.
Sujitra. Good night.
Bye,
Have a good
Nilima.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Deepak ji. Thank you so
तो
much.
आपके दो
Bye,
तीन चीजें
Nilima.
हैं। एक तो आपका हाय बबली, आपका जो चैट है वो मैं इसको शेयर कर देता हूँ. You can go through that just to see the feedback.
Sure, thank you.
ठीक है. And Facebook live हुआ है. People will take time to different this thing. The recorded part I will upload on YouTube and give it to you. You have to download it again.
Okay.
I will share with you WeTransfer. Say upload on your channel on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay.
So with that, I think
thanks.
we are good.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you,
Okay.
thank you, Bharti ji.
Thank you,
Bye.
Deepak ji. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thanks a
Bye,
lot.
Navina.
Bye. पहला recording बंद कर